Hi, everybody, and welcome to Ask the Yoga Psychologist. I am joined today by the wonderful Dr. Stephanie Minchin, our resident psychologist, and also known as the Yoga Psychologist. Hi, Steph. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thank you. Pleasure to be here as always.
So today we are going to be talking about tools for when you're feeling overwhelmed, which I'm sure a lot of us are experiencing at the moment as we kind of move into the middle of second lockdown, and a lot of us are working from home and starting to, I think, really struggle with our mental health and well-being. Steph, from your wonderful experience and your work, it would be wonderful just to share some of the tools that you would suggest for our community to practice or try if they're feeling overwhelmed at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think overwhelmed is the one word that has been really resonating. I think it's just a really big part of our vocabulary at the moment. And that overwhelmed feeling is coming from so many different directions, absolutely myself included. I can hold my hands up for that. It was the one word that was really resonating for me last week. I really think it's important to acknowledge that given the current circumstances that we're in, given the current context, that we are all struggling in different ways. So there's something about this pandemic and sort of other issues that have been around this year that is very polarizing, which means that we are experiencing them in different ways. So some people are struggling financially, some people are on furlough, not working at all, other people perhaps in health or sort of helping professions are totally overworked. And it's almost as if neither position is better nor worse because they're being overwhelmed in different ways. And that difference, I think, can be quite conflictual for us to sort of appreciate each other's positions sometimes. But in regards to feeling overwhelmed at the moment as a stress response to uncertainty, so the uncertainty being we don't know when lockdown will finish, we might not have job security, all the other factors that leads to in our life, like our living situations, our relationships, our social contact, if we're home for Christmas, it's so easy for that worry seed to plant and just
Spiral.
Tornado and spiral. Yeah, exactly. So I suppose there's the acknowledgement that at the moment, our nervous system, each and every one of us is going to be likely operating in a higher level of stress. So that switch for the fight or flight, the sort of activation, the elements of anxiety, the on edge, the worrying, the uncertainty is more likely to be around.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it okay. It doesn't necessarily make it welcomed. It is likely more familiar.
Yeah.
So there's that sort of stress response, but there's also the element of like crashing. I don't know if you've experienced this as well, Liz, but the sort of lethargy, like the lack of motivation, like I've gone from feeling like on edge, on the go to...
Yeah, 100%, Steph. Well, I know I was leading a session recently about the tools for soothing the nervous system. And it always amazes me when you start to research what stress and anxiety and all of those, when we spend a lot of time in that fight or flight or freeze response, what it does to us physiologically. And because of the impact it has on the nervous system and on the body and on the mind, I think it's no wonder a lot of us are feeling, tired, exhausted, overwhelmed, overworked. Our brains are feeling really fogged up, and it's interesting when you talk about what stress and anxiety and those heightened levels of those things do to us physiologically. It's amazing, and it's no wonder that a lot of us are feeling really overwhelmed when we're spending so much more time in that stress response than we are in the kind of soothing relaxation response.
Exactly. And if we think on the level of the nervous system, this is the physiology, it's the body, that for us, our first things of stress that we might notice might be the overthinking and the worrying and the what ifs or the ruminating. So that's the level of the mind. And when we think about the structures of the brain, the thinking, sort of organizing, planning, intelligent part of our brain, evolutionarily is the youngest part, but actually the oldest part of the brain is the bit that connects through the sort of the brainstem and manages the nervous system. So that's the brain and the body link. So all of the things that our body does unconsciously, without control, automatically, all day, every day, the heart beating, changing blood pressure, digesting our food, having a sense of immunity, lungs breathing, the core base physiological concepts and functions of living is exactly the elements that we need to soothe first. So really, we're talking about soothing the nervous system. So one of my questions for the audience would be, what are you doing to soothe your nervous system? Like, what are you doing to create that stroke on the inside, that hug that can say it's okay to be a little bit quieter, slow down a bit, like the importance of rest, the importance of relaxation, stress, how it manifests in the body with the tension. Like, what are you doing to work with yourself at the level of your body?
Yeah, definitely, really important. And I think it's something I've definitely struggled with myself, to actually prioritize those things that we find soothing for the nervous system, the things that I guess the word self-care the words self-care are thrown around a lot at the moment, but I've been thinking a lot recently about what self-care actually means. And I think it's a very personal definition of, exactly as you said, Steph, whatever helps you feel soothed, whatever it is for you that you find calming and soothing for your nervous system. So thinking about, when was the last time you actually felt relaxed without having the TV on, without scrolling through your phone?
Yeah.
What activities can you introduce into your daily routine, weekly schedule, to help you feel soothed?
Yeah. And something that it was a really sort of powerful exercise of one of my clients this week was progressive muscle relaxation. So quite typically when we notice sort of tension and stress, like there's lots of cortisol, the stress hormone, build up particularly around the shoulders. And I notice this in myself all the time. I'm like, at the computer, and I'm like, hello space, hello shoulders. But the going through a progressive muscle relaxation exercise, where it's literally sort of creating tension and release, and the tension and release. So on a physiological level, you're noticing the muscular difference between when I'm holding and squeeze for, like, I don't know, 3 to 5 seconds, to like,
so when you're
that softening. And you can spend 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long you've got seated, lying down, going through particular body parts, like starting maybe with the feet, then the calves, the legs, the tummy and the back, the fingers, the arms, working all about even the face. And then actually when you get to the whole body, tension, release, you're really starting to notice the difference between, actually, oh my gosh, how have I been manifesting stress in my body physically? It's like body armor, like, we're preparing for battle, like, take off that body armor.
It's like body armor. Something actually I was suggesting in a session recently with a client was actually to make sure that you're differentiating your work time and your relaxation time, or your downtime. So when you finish work, if you're finishing work at 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever time it is, instead of shutting the laptop down, grabbing a glass of wine, sitting yourself in front of the TV, which is also perfectly fine to do.
Yes, yeah.
Also do the things you need to do at the moment, but try new things, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed. That's the thing. A lot of us want this really quick fix, glass of wine, whatever it is, but actually trying different things to help soothe the nervous system, that stuff can be so helpful. And really simple, what you just said there, the progressive muscle relaxation. For 5 minutes, like finishing work. When you finish work, instead of going directly to where you normally go, sit in your seat, close your eyes, turn off your devices, phone away, or lay on your bed, and spend 5 minutes doing that practice, progressive muscle relaxation, exactly as you said. That helps to shift your mindset and your body from this go work mode into, actually, this is my time to relax. This is my time. I don't need to be on high alert.
And exactly that. So shifting the mindset requires shifting the body set.
Yeah.
Like really it's a bottom up approach, because otherwise it's putting like a plaster on top. Really, it's like, okay, you know, I've got these stress worry thoughts, and yes, we can challenge them, yes, we can reframe them, but unless we're working on the level of the nervous system, that actually it's just you're putting a plaster on top. And exactly what you said about trying something new. A yoga teacher that I was practicing with in the last week, you know, was talking about poses, but this is, you know, an idea for life, really, beyond the mat, is that things aren't difficult, they're just unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Like when we're doing something new, it requires new learning, which is, you know, our brain having to work and build these new pathways, and it feels different. We're going out of our comfort zone, but the more we do something, the more it becomes habitual.
Yeah.
And I think that really speaks to like some of the things that you suggested around when you finish work, go and sit somewhere different, or breaking the day up, because at the moment where we've all been working from home, we've lost our transition. So we've lost our change, we've lost our journey to work. You know, even if it was like an ugly 4-change tube ride across the other end of London, we're not separating, like we're not separating the office and home, and we're not having that downtime. It's like 0.3 of a second shut down.
Almost that rev up to work, you know, when you're on your journey, you're preparing yourself mentally, you know, you're going to walk into the office, you know, you're going to turn your emails on, and then you finish work and you have the journey. Yeah, you're complete. It's almost like a narrative of the day.
Yes, yeah.
To your day.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, in that transition time, there's a physical separation of the geography and the sort of context and the triggers, but there's also the mental separation, like you said, that revving up and the slowing down. So if you're struggling with working from home at the moment, what can you bring into your day that is going to create more of a schedule where you can also routine and take account for the rev up and the wind down, like the separation between work. So if you used to have a 30-minute commute, okay, well, can you go and walk around your local park for 30 minutes whilst having a coffee instead? Actually, what is it that you can start to, in terms of behavior, really schedule into your day to help create those boundaries and shifts?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's actually probably been something that's affected a lot of us without even realizing, that real adjustment to a completely new and completely different schedule, a way of working completely differently. Our lives have taken on these completely new frameworks without any warning. And I think that's actually something that takes a lot of adjusting.
Yes, yeah. And from sort of running the online course over the last couple of weeks, we had our last session yesterday, and one of the attendees said, I really know it's constant practice. You use the word practice all the time, and this is what I'm taking away. This is a practice. And it's exactly that, like view each day as a time to try without beating yourself up. If for one day it doesn't happen, because now is not the time to be putting pressure on ourselves to do all the things, to be all the things, to learn all the new skills. Like that is now is not the time. Just meet yourself where you're at. And if one day it's, well, I've lost some sleep last night because I know I've been worrying a bit, then perhaps your expectations or hopes are a little bit different or adjusted to what they might be if you've had a good night's sleep. Knowing that any sort of new behaviors or things that are different or changes that you're trying to make, don't put the pressure or the sort of competition on yourself to make big changes immediately, because actually it's all sort of small building blocks. Like the more that we can sort of create the small building blocks, the more we have the foundations to step on and build on, where change is going to be sustainable and longer lasting. So is this about, okay, so perhaps I can do a breathing exercise for 5 minutes a couple of mornings a week. And whether it's in a month's time or a year's time, maybe that's every day, or maybe that's 10 minutes, but it's slow and steady, like what's realistic, what's achievable, what's specific to you in terms of how you're actually feeling, and specific to what's really going to fit into your day.
Yeah, well, and I think that is probably what is making so many of us feel overwhelmed, because it's kind of like there's this pressure to do everything, to suddenly be taking on all this, you know, all this uncertainty and instability with all of us. Every single person, I think, has been affected in some way this year by so much that's happened globally in so many different ways. And it can be so overwhelming. But I think, as you said, to take each day as it comes and have it as building blocks. Like, it doesn't have to be that you do an hour's yoga every single day. Because I mean, even as a yoga teacher, that's unobtainable to me to fit in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Whereas actually making it digestible, and I definitely think from the work I've been doing over this year, is making this self-care, or whatever you want to define it as. If self-care doesn't resonate with you, don't call it that. Call it you time, call it me time, whatever it is. Figure out what helps you when you feel overwhelmed, what soothes your nervous system, as you say. What do you find relaxing? What do you find healing? What do you actually look forward to? Is it a long bath? Is it a walk in nature, leaving your phone at home? Is it exercise? Some people love to go for a run. But actually defining what you enjoy doing, because then it doesn't feel like an extra additional chore. It's something that you can look forward to. Like, I always think, I just can't wait to lay on my yoga mat with my bolster underneath my knees, put some essential oils on, light a candle, listen to some relaxing music, and breathe for 15 minutes. And to me, that's a treat at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And another to-do list to add to your schedule. It's like, oh, I can't wait to do that wonderful, rewarding thing that I know is so good for my nervous system.
Well, that's the thing, mate. And as much as we're suggesting people, you know, maybe try something new or different and start thinking about helpful behaviors and trying to schedule them in little amounts in sort of time manageable ways throughout the day, it's really about what's helpful, like what's going to soothe, what's going to nourish you, what you're going to enjoy. It's also about trying to reduce what's harmful. So is something helpful or is it harmful? And it could be something as simple as so one of the attendees from the course last night said, wow, I have to say, this is the first time in a long time I've not looked at my phone for 2 hours.
Wow.
Like, how attached are we more than ever, you know, to these Zoom squares and screens? So, you know, actually, if I know that being on my phone for like 4 hours solid in the evening is harmful, then can I say, well, I'll reduce that? So how can you start to reduce what is, you know, getting in the way?
What's harmful behavior? And such a powerful practice, and a simple practice, to get into that habit of asking yourself, is this behavior harmful, or is this helping me?
Yeah, exactly. Key questions. And I think when you can, you know, work on the level of your body, so soothing your body, whether that's helping your body with the things that you eat, the, you know, nourishment, movement, lifestyle, whether it's more about the level of the nervous system with like breath work and slowing down the heart, whether it's about sort of challenging the inner critic or being kinder to yourself. They're all different layers, and different things will speak to different people at different times. Just please don't try and do all the things at once, because we are not I was going to say, we're not superhuman.
We're not robots.
Exactly.
We've talked a lot in the past about boundaries. I feel like it's one of our favorite
Why is that?
At the moment in this discussion, it's really relevant, because actually having boundary when you're feeling overwhelmed and everything feels like it's piling on top of you, and you the headspace to, you know, do anything creative, you can't think about social stuff or possibly even the things you enjoy, because there's so much overwhelming you, whether it's work, whether it's external things, whether it's personal things. And actually having some boundaries in place can be really, really helpful, even though it will take a little bit of kind of practical work at the start, saying no to things, like you said, saying no to your phone being next to you all evening long. I know I'm terrible for that. Putting your phone in a room for a few hours or whatever it is. Having boundaries about how much energy you're giving to other people. How much energy you're giving to work. And that can be really good. So a practice I do a lot in my coaching is really simple, just on one side of a page to write the things I want to say yes to, and then next to them, in order to say yes, I have to say no to this.
Exactly.
Really simple, really practical. What if I
Yeah.
want to say yes to a little bit more time for myself? What do I need to say no to in order to do
Yeah.
work? You know, to
Yeah.
be on the phone for an hour and a half to someone I don't really need to give that amount of energy to, whatever it is.
Sure.
Really, really practical, simple things.
Yeah, it's such a great exercise that you share, because it's so empowering. And you know, I find that actually when you bring back your own agency of your own time, you're showing up for yourself a little bit more. You're valuing, like, these are my skills, this is my time, this is my energy, this is my effort, this is like how I want to spend it, this is how I you know, deserve to nourish myself. I don't need to be kind of, you know, drawn thin by 10 million different things, or my energy being vacuumed. Who do I want to spend my time with, and how do I want to spend it? Are really, really important questions. On a more practical level, like you said, Liz, around the sort of boundary setting, I'm thinking about sort of over in the last week, how I've set boundaries, and the things that are useful for me are very, very sort of simple reminders, to-do lists, routines, timetables, and that involves acknowledging why you've put those boundaries in. You know, and actually the idea of the transition as well, like, you know, are people able to finish work at 5 when they're working from home anyway, and they can just work all evening? I find on the days that I'm not doing one part of my jobs out of office, like, you know, that's the boundary. Or scheduling your lunch break, or bookmarking the start and end of your day, I think are really, really important things to do.
Taking control, which I think is a really,
Yeah.
really important takeaway for anyone who's feeling overwhelmed at the moment. I feel like when that sensation of overwhelm comes in, it's often also a sense of feeling out of control, and that can obviously affect us, because it can make us feel weak, make us feel out of control of our own lives. It can make us feel very vulnerable, and it's a really uncomfortable emotion and feeling to sit with. So I think all of those kind of tools of taking back control, whether it be your schedule, whether it be your work, you know, your work-life balance, whatever it is, taking back control of the things that you can.
Exactly. And with the sort of I suppose acceptance of the wider influences of things that we can't fully control. So what is it that we have agency, power, decision and choice over? You know, in relationship to ourselves, the things that we do with others, and what is it that we are, you know, sitting under this sort of wider systemic umbrella of, that we, you know, acknowledging that we're all in this together, and it is a very, very overwhelming period when we may feel at a loss, or demotivated, or more stressed than usual. I suppose the advice is to be sort of constantly checking in, like, what is it I want, what is it I need? And, you know, from our encouragement today around more, okay, body listening, how can I soothe my nervous system, how can I be kind to myself, what is it I need?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Steph.
Pleasure.
We are a little bit over time. We're all if you can't tell, we love to chat. Thank you so much for that fantastic advice today. For anybody listening, remember to be really kind to yourself, and to consider what actually helps to soothe you. What personal practices can you invite more of into your day, into your week, without putting too much pressure on yourself? And what do you enjoy that you can look forward to, and that is soothing for the nervous system and kind of calming for the body and mind? Because I think at the moment, all of us need to be kind of anchoring to those practices and taking as much care of ourselves as we can, so that we can, you know, look after each other as a collective as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Steph. And we will be sharing very soon your upcoming course in January, which is about positive patterns.
Yes, yeah. So I'll be running the second Yoga and Psychology for Mental Health course. So this is a 2-hour online 5-week program created by myself, with my background in clinical psychology, yoga teaching, yoga therapy. The course is looking at reshaping and reframing unhelpful thoughts and behavior patterns, to try and build up things that are going to positively influence your life, whether that's more positive ways of thinking, more positive behaviors to do. So it's founded on cognitive behavior therapy, which is the sort of gold standard treatment, let's say, or intervention for anxiety, depression, stress, panic. So the course will be 1 hour of sharing CBT, sort of teaching, learning, exercises, practical things, takeaway homework tasks, and then sort of yoga therapy informed yoga afterwards.
Wonderful.
So I can't wait to share it, actually. The last course was really, really successful. The attendees gained a lot from the programme. So if there's any questions, just contact me directly. It's at the Yoga Psychologist or Stephanie at the yogapsychologist.uk. And I think the info is going live soon. So I hope to see you on the course
soon, so look out for that. Thank you so much for sharing, Steph, and we'll be back next month with our next Ask the Yoga Psychologist.
Wonderful.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.